What?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Factutainment. We're doing another episode of Walking With Reviews, and I'm Zirietti, and I am joined by Origo.
No, I refuse. My name's Ormaster 101. Please, I've been trapped in this warehouse for 5 years.
Also
Jerry hasn't.
starring Bethany.
Hello, my name is Aura Master 101, and
Hey,
disregard what the previous person just said.
what the fuck?
And also featuring Cecil. Go.
Hi, I'm Braden, or Master 101, and I endorse this message.
Kill you all!
And rounding out the cast today is Avery.
Oh,
Hey,
no. This is Oral Master 101. Disregard what everyone else previously has said.
going.
I'm the real Aura.
I,
Everyone else is a clone or an evil twin. I don't care.
Is anyone else
I-
here?
He's Aura, they're Aura,
Is
I'm
anyone-
Aura. Are there any other Auras I should know about?
Is there any other Squidwards
Meow.
at this residence?
I knew it. I'm surrounded by auras.
Hey, look, identity theft's not a fucking joke, guys. I'm kidding, though. It's actually pretty funny. I stole Chris.
It's just invasion of the body snatchers. We all just point at Aura and go, "Roar!"
I did steal Zero Yeti's identity at one point. And I immediately gave it back because it's like, ugh, I don't want to be you.
Then he gave it back to the wrong person. That's where I came from.
Oh, so episode 2 of Walking with Dinosaurs.
So yeah, we watched episode 2, Walking with Dinosaurs, which is called A Time of Titans, which is... I'm trying to see where it's at.
Which is a critique of Attack on Titan. I'm kidding now.
So, this covered creatures of the Morrison Formation in the Jurassic period, most notably following a group of Diplodocus.
Hell yeah.
From them hatching as babies. God damn it, AI. From them hatching
AI
as
what?
babies to... Oh, there was an AI
Yeah,
image
you know.
that was just terrible.
Look like a cross between Diplodocus and Brachiosaurus.
They be deblacking on my Saurus till it what?
Good job.
Anyway, this episode had some more great like puppet effects.
More baby murder.
Yeah, a lot of baby murder.
And more baby murder.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite puppet was the prolapse dinosaur vagina.
The ovipositor.
I mean, is that the correct term for it?
Yes.
Because I know that's a bug thing. Okay.
It's also a thing in turtles and like some other creatures.
Yeah. CGI dinosaurs shitting and farting. This episode had it all.
Yeah.
Overall, I'd give this episode an A.
Well, I thought we were gonna rank the dinosaurs first.
We could do both. I'm fine with ranking the dinosaurs first. What's the first dinosaur?
So, as I was saying, is Diplodocus, which is the focal animal of this series, of this episode, I mean. And it's probably one of the most iconic creatures of this series overall. This place is set in the Morrison Formation in what is now the United States, which is basically, if I remember correctly, the Morrison Formation is basically along the entire Rocky Mountains.
Thankfully, it's not the Grant Morrison
In the
Foundation,
United
or it'd be
States.
much more confusing.
Yeah, in general. So, hang on, I'm gonna open this in a different tab. That didn't make it any bigger. Awesome. So the Morrison Formation, I know for a fact, is like in Colorado. Yeah. So it's New Mexico and then Arizona, a little bit of Kansas. Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, Nebraska, South Dakota, Montana, North Dakota, and then up into like a little bit of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. Also, Idaho.
Can you repeat all of that?
Sure.
Are those
Stretches
top
from
ones
New
from Canada?
Mexico, Arizona, Oklahoma, Colorado, Kansas, Utah, Nebraska, Wyoming, Idaho, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta.
Are
Now,
those
just
top
one more
ones?
time for the girlies in the back.
Hi.
Are those top one sections from Canada?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a middle Jurassic formation, or I think it's middle to late Jurassic, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
Uh,
Avery,
And-
fact check him.
sure.
Not in too correct here. I don't know.
Nothing correct. Awesome.
Nothing too correct. Fuck off.
All right. So we have basically this was laid down in, I want to say, the mid to late Jurassic period. Somewhere from like, I want to say 170 to almost 140 million years. We can
Mhm.
just Google it real fast. 1 second. More information. It's one of the most famous fossil formations in the entire world.
You've done a couple papers on it, haven't you?
No.
Ah.
So it goes from 156 to around 146 million years of late Jurassic. Yeah. But and especially it was very prevalent, especially at the turn of the century from like 1800s and early 1900s. Because it's where a lot of the famous dinosaurs at the time were being found during the Bone Wars. Which Bone Wars was basically a pissing contest between Othniel Charles Marsh and Edward Drinker Cope, where they were rival paleontologists and just naturalists in general that were they they used to be colleagues, and then they had a falling out, especially following the Elasmosaurus debacle, where Edward Drinker Cope famously put the head on the wrong end of the animal. He thought it had a really long tail and a really short neck, and it was opposite. And there were several reasons why this was wrong. Notably, people pointed out that like the vertebrae would have to be backwards for that to work, and then he made up a whole bullshit designation of there were unique creatures that evolved their vertebrae to look like they were backwards to justify it. Because Edward Drinker Cope was notorious for never admitting when he was wrong about something.
Honestly, that kind of sounds cool as hell. I wish that existed, but it doesn't.
And then Marsh was famous for just being a blunt, rude asshole who stole things constantly. So you have really not good people doing this. But because of this, they started what was called the Bone Wars. They competed to see who could name the most amount of creatures between the two of them. And as a result, over 1,000 creatures were named. They each have some big hitters, like Cope did like Dimetrodon and Camarasaurus, I believe. And Marsh did like Stegosaurus and I want to say Allosaurus. But anyway, the Morrison became very famous because of that, because that's where they were getting a bunch of their fossils from. They also like started getting fossils from other time periods as well. There was a big mammal rush in the Nebraska that they did. But getting off topic, sorry.
It's all good. You like talking about it.
So, Diplodocus in this episode is unique. That we do like a whole thing where we follow something from when it's a baby all the way to an adult, right?
Yep.
Excuse me. And it starts off with them being laid, as Beth keeps pointing out with the ovipositor. which I guess takes us to our first bit of whether or not it's accurate. There's no direct evidence for ovipositors in dinosaurs. There, from as far as I know. But there is ovipositors in other reptiles, namely turtles. So, is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? Maybe not. But I thought it was a neat, and it's certainly a way to explain how something that's 30 feet off the ground lays eggs in a nest without the eggs breaking.
Yeah, honestly, no, that
Spray and
does.
pray.
Yeah, spray and oh my god.
boy.
Like, there used to be a whole thing where, and so I forget who wrote about it. It was not well researched and argued, but there was a man who tried to argue that sauropod dinosaurs, in order to mate and lay their eggs, you had to go into lakes and
Oh, right.
basically have dinosaur sex lakes.
Sounds awesome. Yeah, because all that shit about how they couldn't like hold their bodies up or whatever, so people used to think sauropods lived in water.
Oh,
It's
I
C.M.
see.
Kozman. Who I don't believe he's. Oh, there was also one called Professor Brian J. Ford said that the reason dinosaurs went extinct was because they ran out of sex lakes.
They couldn't fuck nasty anymore.
All the brothels closed down.
Oh my god.
You ever seen the fucking Flintstones modern comic? It was like had a more realistic art style and had a more modern sense of humor, and they were covering the topic of sex or marriage. They're covering the topic of marriage and saying marriage is unnatural. Go back to your sex caves.
I do remember. Oh god, the modern that Flintstones comic was amazing. I loved every bit of it.
I remember the one where they're
My
like they do like the next comic issue after something horrific. They were in like a war or something, and then Barney's just like, and he's like, "Man, this sure is a funny day we're having." And then Fred's just like, "Barney, we committed a genocide."
Barney.
Barney, we committed genocide. My favorite part of that is when they had the marriage comic and they had the gay marriage. They talked about gay marriage, and everything falls apart at the end. And the last panel is the gay couple saying, "Well, we could go to the Unitarians." It's always funny to see the Unitarians get brought up when I'm a Unitarian.
What's a Unitarian?
Unitarian Universalist. It's like a bunch of people from whatever religion or whatever way of life coming together to exchange ideas or whatever.
Oh,
It's basically the chill church, but because my town is in a college town, there's a lot of college professors, which means it's a lot of people talking about trying to do stuff without actually doing it.
yeah.
Like doing your mom.
Because we get a lot of activists, for good causes and stuff.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs.
So overall, the design with the Diplodocus, what do you guys have opinions on it?
I think
S rank.
it's
S-rank.
a pretty solid design. I think S rank.
All right.
Just like the physical appearance of it in the show.
Yeah, I just want like some of your general thoughts before I point out some scientific inaccuracies about it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks. There's not much that actually seems to stand out. It's a pretty simple structure. It looks like. So, it's kind of hard to get anything wrong unless there's like features that we just could not record historically at all about it.
They put They put their whole ass out there. They animated the thing pooping and shitting and farting and laying eggs. Like, you gotta give it nest ring.
Yeah, they put in the time.
Yeah, so what's your thoughts on Dippy, Avery?
I mean, as said before, there's not a whole lot to fuck up, really.
So,
Apart from, I guess, the shrink wrapping issue,
yeah,
but that's just kind of a consistent issue with this era, so I don't think that, like, it's unfair to mark down the product specifically because of that.
my biggest thing, I
And
guess,
there's
was
not a whole lot of features that they could really get all that wrong, so...
so like,
And as I said, they did
okay.
put the whole ass into a lot of details for it. So I am also like A at the minimum for me.
There's the thing with the shrink wrapping is like in this episode, I noticed that you could see, like on the Allosaurus, the Stegosaurus, and the Diplodocus, you could see the creature's ribs, which was weird.
Their whole
Uh,
ass room.
I will say they did make one mistake. Whenever they were small children, they tried to go for like the stealth archer build, but they realized they didn't have a bow. They realized they had to move over to the strength Giga Chad meta,
I'm
and that worked out for them a little bit better.
gonna.
Holy shit!
I'm gonna. Whoa,
what?
madam,
Big Chungus.
madam, would you like to go on a date later?
Oh, the image I just pulled up.
Yeah.
Why are its front legs so thin on that image?
So here's the thing, and that's one of the inaccuracies I wanted to bring up with the Walking with Dinosaurs model. So the Walking with Dinosaurs model, and it's kind of hard to see because it's usually covered up with like grass and foliage. So they have very elephantine feet, especially forefeet.
Yeah.
Which is not accurate for sauropods because
Yep, they do have 4 feet.
sauropod front feet are incredibly cursed.
Are they a bunch of
4
smaller
feet. It
feet
looked
on
like it
top
had
of it?
4 feet to me.
I already made that joke. You're too late.
Oh, okay, I missed it. Damn.
Because, yeah, this is what a sauropod's
What the
foot
fuck?
would look like.
Damn,
You know what? I think it's good these things went extinct.
Because this is the
He-
bones.
he do have some toes though.
Now, there was
Yeah,
probably a fleshy pad here a little bit, but it would, like, the bones are not evenly spread out. It's just like a column, but it's weird. Like it's kind of like you take your hand, do the Vulcan salute, and then fold your fingers in so it's like you're walking on your knuckles. And it's that. And it's like, why?
That sounds kind of awful, actually.
It is.
there is notably more than one toe.
But yeah, that's why a lot of media depicts it as like elephantine feet. But which is somewhat accurate for the back legs, but the forelegs are just very weird.
Oh, well, hold on there. The structure right there. Is that specifically based on the skeletal structure of the foot? Is there any reason to believe there might be flesh in between where that divot is on that foot that you showed us?
That's why I just mentioned that there was probably some kind of fleshy pad there.
Oh, okay, that's what you were referring to. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the fupa.
But the point is that they're
Yeah.
regularly depicted as like elephant feet.
Mhm.
But that's just not the case.
Like, comment, and subscribe if you think that they should have elephant feet.
And
or
it
not.
should be like it.
So everybody should like and subscribe because whether or not you agree, you just have that you like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Which it should be noted that like we tend to depict dinosaurs a lot using because they're very big animals, and the very big animals we have in our modern world, with the exception of like you make an argument for like certain crocodilians, Komodo dragons, and certain like big birds like ostriches. We tend to look at things like elephants, rhinos. Uh, we tend to look at like hippos on occasion, ungulates, especially like bison and muskox. But these are not mammals. They do not have mammal like structures unless it's like just a general vertebrate like structure. These are weird weird crocodile meets bird things.
Yeah, bird tiles.
And they have very much their own unique way of doing things a lot of the time. Such as cursed feet.
I give them a 3 on the Wikifeet scale.
Another thing with Diplodocus is, besides shrink wrapping, there should be the obligatory mention of they use their tails as whips in this episode, which they absolutely probably could do. There was some research into, like, there was a popular theory that they could crack their whips like a bullwhip, like their tails like a bullwhip.
Uh-huh.
Recent, or at least comparatively recent, analysis of that means of sauropod tails, especially like Apatosaurus, Brontosaurus, and Diplodocus, has found that while they were capable of doing that, it would most likely break the end of their tail if they did it. So they probably didn't swing it like a bullwhip, but they most definitely use it to hit shit. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Somebody's kid's missing.
Yep. Why
Oh, that's
am I,
weird. Why?
why am I getting an alert from Wichita when I'm in, and you're, what?
Yeah, that's weird. I didn't get one.
Yeah, quick, dox yourself, Steg.
To be fair, I have doxed my not my location down to the street address, but I have doxed the city that I have lived in several times in several videos. Not because I said the city I live in, but solely based on me and Steg talking about a restaurant, a fast food place in my town that is only native to the town I live in.
That's not true.
Okay,
It's an invasive species.
It's found throughout our entire state.
Okay, I might have been a little wrong. My apologies.
The only
Oh,
other
there
real
we go.
inaccuracy I have for Diplodocus, I can remember to mention at this point in time, was that they held their heads very horizontally in this episode. And this is based off of some analysis that was done at the time saying that, like, sauropods like Apatosaurus and Diplodocus could only hold their heads vertically. They couldn't really raise that often, which is why the animals rear so often in this episode. Once again, analysis has shown that they could have moved, their necks were much more flexible than they were in this aspect in the episode, as like shown in this paleo art, where they could raise their head more vertically. And this makes sense of, why would you put all this effort into having a long neck if you're not going to be able to eat stuff that's high off the ground?
The other thing that gets me about this particular art is the way the base of the neck and like the bottom of the torso are attached at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like
kind
that
of
forms a
sharp
90-degree angle.
that's kind of weird. Yeah,
Hey,
it probably would have
don't-
had more of a gradual, like this one.
Hey, don't shit on a big, beautiful woman like that. She's.
I think I will.
Yeah.
Thank you. Don't tell me what to do.
Damn. I mean,
Do you think it would have actually had those spines sticking out of its back, or would its back have come up a
Yeah.
little bit higher to
Okay,
cover those?
I will pull up the, I'll pull up the skeleton.
Because I was thinking to myself, like you were talking about how it has like its head is like horizontally like that, and that it would probably be able to lift it vertically. And I'm sitting here thinking like, yeah, because if it had its head horizontally out there like that, it needs some real neck muscles to not get absolutely tired of being like that. With how long it sticks out
same.
there. You can relate to that? You got a long neck? Giraffe style? Man.
It's tiny.
You super tiny.
So, this is a. It's likely that they may have had some of these spines, and it's likely that part of it was covered up as well. I say this because there are other sauropods that have a bunch of weird neck neural spines and like back spines that
Mhm.
almost certainly stuck out of the skin because they were over a meter long. This is stuff like Bahatosaurus and Amargasaurus and Rebecchisaurus, I believe.
Mhm.
Rebeccasaurus is my favorite Cyberpunk 2077 character.
Like, here's an example of Bahatosaurus.
Yeah. Well, it's like I would imagine in the skeleton those structures would be kind of distinct from the rest of the neck muscles, though. You know.
Yeah, here's
Yeah.
Amargasaurus. And then Rebecchisaurus had some interpretations make it a sail, and others are just like it just had tall back spines.
Sail!
So that is. It could have absolutely like developed keratin cores and made it like stick out of the skin like that, or it could have been completely covered in flesh. Uh, so it's not that weird of an interpretation,
Mhm.
and it kind of gives them like it's not much, but it kind of gives them some kind of like it's not necessarily a defense structure, but like a deterrent from stuff jumping on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Aside from the part in that video where the thing jumped on it.
The Allosaurus, yeah. Speaking of, well, let's rank Diplodocus first, and then we'll
S
talk
rank.
about
S.
Allosaurus. All right. Oh yeah. Well, we should probably talk about the size real fast.
Spoilers for other dinosaurs later in the series.
So Diplodocus in the episode is referred to as, I believe they say it's. They say at the end of the episode that this is the largest life on land will ever be.
Yeah, that didn't sound right.
That is not necessarily true. They are right in the sense that they talked about how the sauropods were the largest land creatures yet known.
Yeah. Well,
But
they said the
sauropods
sauropods.
don't go extinct at the end of the Jurassic. They continue until the end Cretaceous mass extinction. And in fact, the largest sauropods, such as Argentinosaurus and Puertosaurus and um, Dreadnoughtus, and many other of the huge ones, are late Cretaceous. So, while Diplodocus is impressive, it's by no means the largest sauropod.
Yeah, I mean, they literally in the same episode showed a sauropod that was bigger.
Yeah.
Didn't think about that.
Damn, are you telling me that dinosaur hepatitis didn't get to them? That makes me sad.
We went over this. It's Hepasaurus.
And there's so the longest complete skeleton of Diplodocus reaches around 85 feet and would have gotten around 16 tons in weight. And there's been some estimates calculating over 110 feet long. And others have said up to 171 feet. That is dubious. It's very dubious. But up to 100 feet, from what I've read, is somewhat reasonable. But yeah, let's rank it.
S rank. S rank.
Let me just find it. There it is.
Minimum A.
So we got Avery argues for A, Aura's S, Beth says S. Braden, what do you say?
Yeah, I could do either A or S. That's fine.
S.
It seems to branch out a lot of things that I think is pretty cool.
Another thing. I read about this earlier. There are dung beetles shown in this episode, and I do think it's neat to include like dung beetles. Be like, they now like scoop the poop up off of elephants and like ungulates and rhinos and other stuff. In today, but they got their start in the time of the dinosaurs, which is absolutely true, and they probably did this for sauropods. However, the earliest dung beetles evolution I've found evidence for it is early Cretaceous. So they're
Hold
kind
on.
of not. They didn't start in the Jurassic.
We can't do dung beetles in this episode and not do dragonflies in the last episode.
So dragonflies are evolutionarily some of the oldest insects on Earth. They get their
Yeah, get
start.
fucked, Brayden.
They get their start back in the Carboniferous, I believe, maybe even earlier. Let's Google that real fast.
They started all the way back when.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Started from lower middle class, now we're kind of higher middle class.
Over 300 million years ago, which if I remember correctly. 300 million years ago would put them in the Carboniferous. Yep, that was correct. Anyway.
Can't believe this show is called Walking with Dinosaurs, and I only thought just now to make a joke about Walk the Dinosaur.
Everybody get on the phone. Something.
So we have Allosaurus is up next. So Allosaurus, I thought was it. It's one of the most famous dinosaurs on Earth. It's a good inclusion on this. It has an interesting role, and I'm not gonna talk too much about it in this one because an upcoming spoilers ahead, and there's a entire documentary about Allosaurus in the Walking With series called The Ballad of Big Al, which will probably elaborate on Allosaurus more in that one.
Allosaurus?
Yeah,
It kind of doesn't do.
I'm also probably want to save a lot of my thoughts for the Big Al special.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't do much in this episode aside from murder children, which would make it a pretty high grade.
Put it in B for baby murderer.
I will say the most striking that came to mind when I was watching it was the head shape's just kind of weird, which they do fix in the Ballad of Big Al, but it's very much more rounded than it is in life because Allosaurus' skull is actually pretty elongated. Yeah.
So I'm guessing Allosaurus seems to me to be kind of like if a T-Rex was in pre-alpha.
That's kind of a disservice.
No, that's the Alphasaurus.
That's just what it looks like examining its phenotype.
I would say I believe it was found before T-Rex.
That's what I'm saying, pre-alpha. Like is the early version of T-Rex.
Some notes on Allosaurus. It is by far and away the most numerous dinosaur, carnivorous dinosaur from the Morrison. We have hundreds of specimens. It's also not just known from the Morrison. It's also known from, there's a formation in Portugal, and there's one in Tanzania that it's known from. They were insanely prevalent. They're much more down the line than they are from Brain mentioned T-Rex. The evolutionary, and this is just because A, they were in the Jurassic, but B, they seem to be at this node in the theropod tree where I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, what we argue is down the line from them is Carcharodontosaurus, Giganotosaurus, and then I believe the Metriacanthosaurs are in the same ballpark.
Mm.
Theropod tree. Excuse me. So I got all these fucking. Damn it! It's the pterosaur heresies.
The tarot what?
So this is in the paleo community. There's a guy called the Pterosaur Heresies, which runs a blog where he used to be a really prolific like paleo artist, and he still is in many regards. But he's kind of like a crazy conspiracy theorist. But all of his crazy conspiracy theories are about dinosaurs and pterosaurs and other prehistoric animals.
Like that one episode of Star Trek.
And he started like what he says and what he says he sees in the fossils that he examines is incongruent with like literally everyone else who looks at the fossils.
I think you might be licking lead-based paint. Who knows?
Yeah. And unfortunately, his art's everywhere because he like spams it to hell and back. Yeah, I was right. Okay, so over here you have the Ava Theropoda, which is you have you have this split, and then you have like Allosaura, Megaraptorans, and then Carcharodontosaurs. And then earlier you have Megalosaurs, Spinosaurs, and earlier than that you have your Albilosaurs, Ceratosaurs. Then you go down the tree and eventually you get like Coelophysis, Dilophosaurs, which are more in the basal theropod tree. And then you have Coelosauria, which I believe has everything from Velociraptor to modern birds to T-Rex.
So, okay, hold on. Look at that tree again.
Huh?
So, does it like for like time period? Does it work its way from the bottom up or from the
Yes.
top down?
So
Okay, from the
down
bottom up.
here is so you have Coelophysis down here, and then Tawa, which is like a very weird creature, which is argued to be one of the first theropods. And then you have like you have Coelophysis and its relatives. Then you have Dilophosaurus. Then you have your Albilosaur tree, where it's your Ceratosaur tree. And then they last all the way to the end Cretaceous. Then you have your Megalosaur kind of branch. Then you have your Carnosauria branch, which is like Allosaurus, Carcharodontosaurus, Megaraptor. And then your Coelosauria, or Coelurosauria branch, which is a lot more of your famous carnivorous dinosaurs.
Okay.
Which is like Velociraptor, Deinonychus, Tyrannosaurus rex, Albertosaurus, modern birds.
Lesser known relative of the Bioniclesaurus.
Oh shit! I love Bionicles.
You hear that, 90s kids?
Send all your Bionicles to www.fatstack. I don't know.
Yeah, because this is just Coelosauria, and you have Tyrannosaurus, the Tyrannosaurs, the Compsognathids, the Therizinosaurs, the Oviraptorosaurs, the Troodontids, the Dromaeosaurs, birds, Ornithomimosaurs, and then the Alveoreosaurs, which are those guys are weird. You think T-Rex has tiny hands? These guys have one finger on each hand that they just like stab things with. It's
I mean, yeah, so do I.
What?
I'm sorry, did I stutter? I'm gonna stab you with my one finger.
Yo! Don't stab my booty with your one finger. I almost said something weird again.
Rory did say something weird.
Almost lost my cool there.
I like how stabbing my booty with your one finger was not the weird thing.
I thought about following it up with I might fart. So be happy I stopped with don't stab my booty with your one finger.
Okay.
You always gotta remember with me. Anything that I can say could be 10 times worse. So be glad that the things I say are usually the things that I stick with.
I'm just waiting for that.
Waiting for what?
The 10 times worse.
Damn. I don't know how
Yeah,
to
these are
respond to that.
alveolosaurs.
It's just gonna say
C'est la Velosaurs?
Or
Sailor
alverosaurs.
Venusaur.
These guys are
Oh.
weird. And they're also tiny.
You know, I never really got that Pokemon, so.
Yeah, look how tiny these fuckers are.
Damn.
Yeah.
And
They're
they're,
the size of a chicken.
and they're closest relatives to T-Rex.
They would
At
jump
least,
on
well, no,
you.
Compsognathus. And then T-Rex. Anyway, Allosaurus. So some slight inaccuracies that do get kind of fixed is the head shape. As I mentioned, their skull is much more elongated than they are in like this image.
Mm-hmm.
This is much more rounder. I don't necessarily know why they did it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Their horns are also kind of too far. They're kind of in the wrong place a little bit, but not terribly. There's also they also have more of a crest in the front on their actual skull. It doesn't necessarily show up in that one, as you can see in like this one. Like this
Mm-hmm.
little crest that doesn't show up in the model.
Hmm.
They do a decent job of not really pronating the hands, which is good. The tail's a little too short. But in general, there's not too many terrible problems with this. Their teeth would have been wrapped in lips in life.
DSLs.
I feel bad because I don't really have much more to say about Allosaurus. I guess I can give a brief description of it. So it's a large carnivore, lived in North America, Portugal, Tanzania from around 156 to 143 million years ago.
Just not acknowledge that.
What?
I like.
It was named by Osno Charles Marsh. It was found in 1863.
And he didn't name it a Morshosaurus?
No, there's another dinosaur named Marshosaurus.
What's that?
There's another dinosaur named Marshosaurus.
Did he name it?
I believe so.
Okay, he better have.
Or someone like who worked for him named it after him. In life, Allosaurus got up to averaged around 28 feet in length, 2,200 pounds in weight, so around 12 feet tall. It can reach around maximum running speeds around 25 miles an hour, is what it's estimated to have been. They have fairly robust arms with large hand claws. Skull structure was fairly elongated and narrow, and they had very flexible jaws.
Ooh.
They're allowed them to open their mouths incredibly wide. Another thing is they're frequently displayed hunting in groups in this episode, which that is they probably didn't hunt as strict packs,
Mm-hmm.
but from the amount of Allosaurus remains we have in their proximity to each other and proximity to other large animals in the Morrison, does not seem unreasonable that they would have behaved in similar fashion to something like monitor lizards or like especially Komodo dragons, where they will work as a group to take down a large creature. They don't, especially Komodo dragons, they don't communicate with each other ahead of time other than we're all just going to go after this thing. They don't like coordinate their attacks or anything. They just mob it together.
Yeah, it's just
Just
like,
like
oh,
playing
they're attacking
D&D.
something. It's vulnerable now. I'll attack it.
We have evidence that Allosaurus probably worked together to hunt things. They may have even taken care of each other. We also have evidence that Allosaurus regularly cannibalized each other.
Damn.
We also have evidence, which is I should probably bring it because it's one of my favorite talking points, that Allosaurus was just a grade A asshole.
Damn, gotta get me a freak like that.
Because they did like isotopic analysis on like the bones, and like it wasn't necessarily just isotopic, but other analysis on the bones of various Morrison creatures, which showed that Allosaurus was attacking and likely feeding upon essentially everything else in its environment, including other Allosaurus. We've studied like injuries on Allosaurus. These things fought all of the time with basically everything, and they were fairly hardy creatures because a lot of them healed and kept going.
It says right here, you're a bad person. We weren't even testing for that.
There's a bit of a running joke in the paleo community that like it's a very unfortunate that in a lot of movies and media, dinosaurs are just kind of portrayed as like these hyper aggressive monsters that just attack everything. And then you have Allosaurus, which basically proves that.
It just kind of makes it. That kind of tells us that it was a very dominant predator in its field.
And the thing is, it wasn't even the largest predator in its environment because you have stuff like Torvosaurus and Saurophaganax, which are larger. It just they were incredibly numerous and they just fucking attacked everything.
Yeah, they were just more effective.
Hang on, Allosaurus fighting me.
Come at me, you long ass bitch.
Oh yeah, there's the. That's really tiny. There was one called Allosaurus Fuck It We Ball. Yeah, you have T-Rex with as the only large predator in my ecosystem, use ambush and stalking to avoid being gored to death by dangerous herbivores. I also engage ritual fights with the members of my species. Spinosaurus. I have become specialized in aquatic prey in order to avoid competition with other big carnivores. Allosaurus. Fuck it, we ball. And then my personal favorite is you have a Torvosaurus, a Stegosaurus, and a Ceratosaurus. We don't want to fight you, Allosaurus. Allosaurus, I don't want to fight me neither. So yeah, as it's depicted in the episode where it spends most of its time trying to kill other things, is accurate.
All right.
Where do I want to rank Allosaurus?
Oh,
I
I thought we
think-
weren't doing it this episode because of the other episode that features it.
I think we can re-rank it.
We can re-rank.
Okay.
Just
think-
for the memes, I think it deserves at least an A.
Dude, if that thing's balling with literally everything, I think it deserves an S tier for sure.
So I wonder if there's two designs on here, because if there's two, we can put like this one in B and then the other one in like S.
I think it should go into B for baby killer.
Yeah, I can agree with that actually.
Nick, if that's
Too
how we're
many
doing
things
it, half of the series would be in B.
Exactly.
I mean, it's up to you. C'est la vie, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so for
don't know what
now,
you're
I
saying.
only see one Allosaurus. For now, we'll put it in. Yeah, you said A tier,
Yeah.
and then
I'm fine with A tier.
we may move it down once we may get a second image of it, depending on like
Move it,
when we do Big Al.
move it down to B for baby
You
killer.
don't have very high hopes for the Allosaurus in the more detailed rendition, do you?
What?
Okay, so that is Allosaurus.
Well, Stag's over here talking about moving it down once we get to that point. I'm over here like, yeah,
No,
S tier,
I mean,
absolutely.
this design goes down because it's improved in the. Is what I meant.
Oh, fair enough, yeah. Because this one, yeah, it's got its visual flaws for the show. Fair enough.
Mhm.
And next up, we
Unfair
have
enough.
possibly the most butchered design in the entire series.
Oh,
Uh,
boy.
Before we get fully into this, I am going to have to scuttle off because it's 2:30 in the morning over here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's just
Hey,
work be a bitch.
hey, do me a favor. Put
Mhm.
in the chat what you want to rank each of the remaining creatures. So Stegosaurus, Ruognathus, Dryosaurus, Brachiosaurus,
Okay.
and
Can
Ornitholestes.
drop in chat the list of all of those, and I will rank them.
Okay.
Good night, all.
Good night, Avery.
Have a good night.
All right,
Your
so
last fleeting moments of consciousness, please remember to rank these dinosaurs.
I remembered to rank the dinosaurs.
Okay. I'll try and go faster.
Okay, it's all good.
So here we go. We have Arugognathus. This is my favorite pterosaur. Man, did they butcher my boy. Because this is how it appears in the episode. This weird bat fleshy thing.
Leather kite.
Damn, he is a bald ass motherfucker.
And this is how it appeared in life.
Oh, it's like that one bitch
No, it's
from
a
the Star
porg.
Wars movie. Yeah,
Porg.
it's a
It's like a
porg.
flying
Frog.
Yeah. How did they get this? When this is what it looked.
Well, you see, when a mommy and a daddy love each other very much, they fund the series Walking with Dinosaurs.
It's
And
like
then-
oh gosh, it's like if a frog and an owl had a baby.
I've
Growl?
heard it as described as they are the essentially equivalent of like a reptilian bat.
Ooh.
Okay, the thing I was asking about last time.
Yeah.
It's like, where are those at? Perfect.
So these are part of the pterosaur family Arugognathans, named after Arugognathus.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. They are notably fairly small pterosaurs with short necks, large heads, small tails, and kind of. They're not incredibly long wings, but they're long enough to like let them fly around. They have very big eyes,
Mhm.
and
Better to see
they
it with.
likely filled the same role as bats or nightjars do today.
I'm sorry, what? What the fuck is a nightjar?
I will pull that up. It's a species of bird.
Oh, I thought it was a jar like at night.
Nightjar.
Oh, dude, yeah, those things
Oh,
look cool.
You mean
the toothless
cuckoo-toos?
bird.
And these are nocturnal birds that they're also called the dragon bird, and they basically kind of do a similar thing to bats do, where they just like fly around and eat insects.
Yeah, look at that. What'd that mouth do?
Brayden.
Wood.
So, these guys are also some information about Arognathus is they lived in what is now the late Jurassic period, around 151 to 146 million years ago. They are not known from North America; they're known from Europe. So they kind of show up in a weird location, and we're past the point where Pangea is a thing. So we're gonna have to stop being as forgiving on where these like creatures are traveling from to like show up in the episode. Especially tiny pterosaurs like this, which probably couldn't cross open water for any length of time. So these things reached 3 to 4 inches in length and about 3 ounces in weight, and they had about a 14 to 20 inch wingspan.
Mm,
Oh
They
my gosh,
could
they're so
fit
tiny.
in your hand.
mm.
Yeah.
So I could squish them.
They had disproportionately large skull for such a small creature. They had very small but sharp teeth, and they had eyes that allowed them to have binocular vision.
Ooh.
In life, their body would have been covered in hair like pycnofibers, which are like protofeathers, and they would have been swift-flying insectivores, filling a similar niche, as I said, to like bats. They likely were most active in forests in the twilight, eating a bunch of insects, and they would have themselves been preyed by larger pterosaurs, dinosaurs, and early birds. They are shown in the episode to basically fulfill a similar niche to oxpecker birds do on like rhinos and
Mm.
like various other like
Why aren't they
oxes,
rhino pecker
buffalo.
birds?
Well, because they were initially found on like these like Cape buffalo and oxes.
Oh, the
Oxpecker birds are notable for they pick a lot of parasites off of large herbivores, um, and it used to be considered a strictly mutualistic behavior, but it's now found that oxpecker birds also drink the blood
Holy shit!
and sweat of the creatures they clean. So it's
Damn.
not as mutualistic as it seems.
Do they also drink their tears?
And they are known to, especially during droughts, they will go up to animals that have like scabs on them, pick the scabs off, and then drink the blood.
That sounds awful.
That's brutal.
I think we should kill all oxpecker birds now.
They got to hit the trifecta: blood, sweat, and tears. You know.
So Aruognathus,
Thank you.
it's my favorite pterosaur. They're little tiny like Jurassic reptile bats. I own an entire skeleton of one. In the episode, they're shown as weird, fleshy reptile oxpeckers,
Ball sacks.
which is an interesting take. Where do we want to rank it?
Well,
Well,
isn't that cute? But it's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we could have
obviously
had.
I mean, obviously, we need to put this design at the bottom because they did it dirty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to put this in F for fuck that tier.
I mean, hey, I mean,
This is like
you
this
know,
is what a
Okay, that's not
skeleton
what I
would
meant by
look
fuck
like.
that.
I'm sorry, I'm being a dumbass, but yes,
No, you-
F tier if it's available.
Yeah, its neck's too long, its head's too small.
Solely on the principle that we could have had cute frog-looking bat thingy, and we didn't.
Yeah,
F tier, F tier, F tier. Ah.
that was right. Aruognathus, F tier. Why?
It doesn't want to go.
Why can't I move this? Okay. Next
God, it's
up
sentient.
is Stegosaurus.
F tier immediately. I'm kidding.
S tier immediately.
B tier.
D tier.
No, let's listen to Chris's spiel on it real fast, and we'll judge it in a second.
So Stegosaurus, one of the most iconic dinosaurs on Earth, one of the most notable. And
More like in
what were you saying, Beth?
the earth because they're all dead.
That's true.
Yeah.
Hang on 1 second.
They got a lot of them pointy dinner plates on their backs.
Yep. So, Stegosaurus is a genus of herbivorous thyreophore dinosaur that lived during the late Jurassic period from around 155 to 144 million years ago. It's been found in both the United States, Canada, and Portugal. It was named by Arthur Neil Charles Marsh in 1877 and was initially found in Colorado. There's a couple different species. Like, I believe there's Stegosaurus sulcatus, the Stegosaurus ungulatus, and Stegosaurus stenops.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I need a drink.
It's all good.
In general, they got up to 30 feet in length and over 7 tons in weight. It's the largest Stegosaurus dinosaur known. And it was, if it was alive today, it'd be the largest it'd be the largest creature on the planet, like land creature on the planet. But
Mhm.
in comparison to what it was living alongside, this thing was tiny. Because it lived
Damn,
alongside.
like real small.
Well, that's not necessarily. So it'd be like, if you compare it to a modern ecosystem, Stegosaurus in our world is about the size of an elephant. But in a world
Right.
with sauropods, it comparison becomes from. So I guess an example would be like the Great Plains ecosystem, where the largest creatures you have are bison, which in this analogy would be the sauropods, and then your next size down is still going to be sauropods, which is like your elk and your deer. And so once you get down to the size of like a peccary or a wild boar, that's Stegosaurus in this ecosystem.
Mm.
Stegosaurus is also infamous for its thagomizers, which are the spikes at the end of its tail, named after the late Thag Simmons, which is a joke from a Far Side comic, which by artist Gary Larson, which unironically inspired scientists to actually give these spikes and like tail weapons and dinosaurs an actual name, and they named it Thagomizer.
That's great. I love that.
Because
Dumb
scientists
Allosaur
are
gets
nerds. And they like comic books, and
Man, I
they
love
read a comic
Farsight.
book, and they're like, oh, we're naming it this now.
Farsight's such a good comic.
They're also famous for their plates, which is their row of, it's not necessarily armor, but it's like their row of back ornamentation.
Fuck. Never mind. Post canceled. Sorry.
The what?
Oh god, that
Yeah.
his joke just stalled out.
They're commemorative, like something plates. I don't know.
Star Trek dinner plates.
Yeah, exactly. Star Trek dinner plates.
That's a cool design. I don't really like when they just look like they're covered in flesh.
Flesh.
I mean, Chris, I hate to tell you this, but most things are covered in flesh.
Speak for yourself.
I mean, on the other hand, I'm a gelatinous cube thing.
On the other ham,
Yeah, the other ham.
Yes, I
Here's
have
one
human
fighting
flesh.
it. Here's one of
I'm not a
one
human
fighting an
body.
Allosaurus, so it gives you about a comparison of like a size difference.
Damn,
there, too.
Allosaurus is small.
Well, it's not so much Allosaurus is small. Stegosaurus is fairly big.
Yeah, but a lot of things were fairly big, so in comparison, Allosaurus was small.
Yeah, once again, it's not the largest predator in its ecosystem. It's just
Yeah, it's just the most effective because it's aggressive and it's impacts.
it's the most numerous. Yeah. I've seen some comparison, like Allosaurus is frequently called the Lion of the Jurassic.
yeah, the
But
episode
some
said that.
people, like, they say in the episode, some people have made the argument of, like, maybe these things, because they weren't the largest predator in the ecosystem, and they were very aggressive. Maybe these were hyenas. Well, they're like still incredibly effective predators. Assholes. Assholes through and through. Although I've seen some comparisons of people have made of actually the Ice Age, like at La Brea. And this is actually because there's La Brea is what's known as a predator trap, where creatures, like especially large herbivores, would occasionally wander in thinking it's water and get stuck. And then their cries and their sense of like death and decay would attract a lot of predators.
I think, what was that called again? That word?
A predator trap.
No, what you're describing as a predator trap.
La Brea?
Yeah, what is that?
It's the La Brea Tar Pits.
Okay.
La Brea is the name of the formation.
That'd be a nice flooring to put in your house. Tarp it.
And then it's thought of there may have been similar predator traps in the Morrison
ignore
based
that.
off of some locations that we find. But they likely weren't tar pits. They may have been like mud holes where a large creature would come in, especially during a drought where the water keeps like shrinking and shrinking towards the center. And then you have all this dried mud. And then a large creature would walk in trying to get to the water, but they get stuck in the mud. And then predators would come in, and it's a thing where like the longer and longer the water dries up, the more it's pooled in the center, the more mud there is, the more creatures get stuck, the more the predators get stuck, and it becomes like a whole cycle, and it's a predator trap.
It was like a. I forgot what I was gonna say.
So just some big things on the Stegosaurus design in this model. It was quite accurate for the time it came out. However, Stegosaurus has, especially in older reconstructions, notably weird proportions. It has a fairly small head, fairly short forelimbs, a weird neck, a very arched back, and long hind legs and a long tail. Long tail is accurate.
Yeah, this is.
Go ahead.
This is something I remember hearing another paleontologist talk about how, like, the first Jurassic Park movie came out, and they designed the Stegosaurus to have like this big hump in the back, and that was actually more accurate, but they changed it after the first movie.
Kind of.
Something like
So,
that.
this is due to, in large part, there's a decent amount of Stegosaurus remains. Unfortunately, they were all partial skeletons, like partial specimens, where you would have.
Yeah.
This is usually what you find. You don't usually find complete skeletons, but you'll usually find like the leg of one. You'll find the tail of another. You'll find some ribs of another, and the head of another one. And what a lot of scientists do is they make composite creatures. So you take the known remains of one specimen, the known remains of another one, and you try and scale them, and you try and match them, and you try and make a render of what you think the complete animal would look like. Right?
Uh-huh.
It's sort of like matching a puzzle piece.
Right.
Well, for the longest time, Stegosaurus was the only known stegosaur. And stegosaurs are weird creatures. So it got kind of interpreted very weird in this like posture, and it used to be even weirder in like classical depictions. Like, here, I'll pull up Stegosaurus through the ages, because at one point someone said it was bipedal, and it was dumb. Here we go. Or not.
I'm sorry, what?
The earliest depictions of Stegosaurus had it being bipedal.
Oh, it looks awesome.
As it loads. There we go. Yeah, you see? And they put the thagomizers up front and the plates on the tail.
Oh my gosh, Gojira?
And then you had the more classical design where it's very arched. And then you have this modern design. And that is because we found, well, not, I didn't find shit, but scientists found I own this.
Yeah, I own this.
She's a juvenile. but there is a complete skeleton of a Stegosaurus named Sophie, who,
I hope she doesn't have any
finding
choices to
it
make.
and finding it mostly articulate and mostly complete, we found out that the neck was longer, the head was larger, the legs are much more proportionate to each other,
Uh-huh.
and the back is much less arched. And this is most likely due to a lot of the composites we found is like, we now think that the uh the front of the body that a lot of the time was found to construct the composite animals was probably likely from a much younger individual than the back body. And I guess a comparison would be like if you were trying to make a human and you're an alien in the future and you find like a graveyard and you're trying to put together what you think a person looks like, and you have 5 human bodies, but you have the legs of like 40-year-old, you have the head of a 60-year-old, and then you have the arms of like a 10-year-old, and they're not
I'm
going to
just
be
thinking of the scene
proportionate.
from Deadpool 2.
Like they're not going to be
The
proportionate
scene
to
from
each other.
Deadpool 2 where
Go on.
the scene from Deadpool 2 where Deadpool has to regrow his legs.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Tiny baby legs.
Well, here's a good comparison of the size between this. I believe this is a Diplodocus in the background, Allosaurus, and then a Stegosaurus, and just the size difference of how big sauropods were. But yeah, so this is a more like modern reconstruction of a Stegosaurus than what's seen in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Uh,
amazing.
Another thing to bring up is the plates. The plates are good; they're arranged well in the Walking with Dinosaurs model. They're a bit oversized, but they're not terribly oversized. In the episode, they're shown changing color after the animal like flushes it with blood, and makes it like vibrant and like to try and ward off the Allosaurus that's attacking. Uh-oh.
We lost Beth.
Uh-oh. We're losing people like flies. Damn it.
That's so good.
No.
So, and then...
Oh, there we go.
Okay. You okay, Beth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Discord's been taking up a lot of space recently, as a lot of people have noted. And like, I disconnected and reconnected. Like, I blipped in and out a few times during this, and it's just Discord's taking up a lot of space.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'll try and wrap this up. But in general, so we have, like, this is a more modern interpretation of Stegosaurus. And as I mentioned, the plates were depicted in the episode like flushing with blood and changing color. We think the
Mhm.
plates in life would have been vibrantly colored, but we know that they were covered in keratin, which is the same stuff that's like covers a lot of like animals' nails and like a rhino's horn and stuff like that. So they would not have been able to change color like in the episode.
Right.
But it was still a neat like speculative behavior for the time. Anyway, where do we want to put Stegosaurus?
I mean, S tier. The Stegosaurus, the Stegosaurus is the
Is this
OG.
the only episode? Is this the only episode Stegosaurus shows up in?
It does show up in the Ballad of Big Al, but I don't believe it changes design anyway.
I put it like an A. I thought it was weird how in the show the tip of the tail was like really articulated, like a worm.
Oh yeah.
That's another thing of the tail would have been incredibly flexible in life. The Thagomizers are a bit curved too far upward in this episode. They would have been more just straight out to the side.
I'm fine with putting it in A because it just slapped its baby out of nowhere.
It wasn't its baby.
I think that gives it an S, but yeah, we can go A.
It wasn't Stegosaurus's baby. That was to Stegosaurus, a random 4-year-old running by on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
He just hit it with a bat.
all Stegosaurus are bastards.
Damn.
Okay. Next up is we have Avery didn't give us. Oh yeah, he did. Next up we have Brachiosaurus. Damn it. Pause this recording real fast.
Like toys. Something.
And that is usually how sentences work.
Exactly.
Speaking of giraffes,
It all starts with something.
Every kiss
Brachiosaurus.
begins with fuck.
No, that's where it ends.
Damn. I think he's back.
Back to the front.
Stag, you forgot to unmute. Stag, you forgot to unmute.
It just doesn't.
Stag. Stag.
Anyway, speaking of
Unmuting.
giraffes, we have Brachiosaurus. That's
Hey.
a cool design for
Yeah.
Stegosaurus. We have the Brachiosaurus from Walking with Dinosaurs, which, damn it. So,
Senor Biggie Boy himself.
They didn't really do much.
yeah,
They sort of.
another glorified cameo, I guess, although they actually talk about it a bit. So I'm trying to pull up the design real fast.
Cameo, more like clameo.
Clameo.
Damn, how'd you know?
So,
More like Whammy-O.
once again, the
Ram.
Brachiosaurus is called the largest dinosaur to ever live in this episode. We've previously talked about how there's other sauropods that are bigger. But Brachiosaurus was so it was kind of the biggest dinosaur known at the right time to become in the public's consciousness the largest dinosaur ever, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how T-Rex was, well, I guess it's less of a thing because you get more publicity with big theropods, but T-Rex was considered to be the largest carnivore it's constantly called the largest carnivore to ever live, even though whales exist. But and remember, kids, the sperm whale exists and hunts prey that are several tons in weight.
Yeah, but whales don't count.
The sperm whale is real, and it's in your closet.
What the fuck?
Anyway, but T-Rex was like the largest carnivorous dinosaur at the time. It's now since there's like two bigger ones, but it was at the right time to become widely known as the largest carnivore to ever walk the earth.
Isn't the biggest dinosaur like Seismosaurus or something?
I believe still, although it like every few years, a new femur is found of a giant sauropod, and that's called the largest dinosaur to ever live. And then they run adjustments and run modeling with it compared to all other sauropods, and then almost always Argentinosaurus ends up coming out again as the biggest one.
Okay.
And so
Argentinosaurus sweep.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Question about Brachiosaurus.
I was gonna say this is like, for an example, real fast of Argentinosaurus, because we keep talking about giant sauropods. That's how big Argentinosaurus is. And this would be you.
36.6
This
meters.
is you little bitch.
So-
Little baby man. Baby man.
Times 36.6 by 3.3, and you'll get feet.
Okay, I was about to ask, how much is that in freedom units?
A meter is 3.3 feet.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much that is in feet. Someone do calculate it real fast.
It's over 100 feet.
Hang on, I'll do it. 36.6 meters to feet. 36.
The last fucking time, nobody said there'd be math.
That would be 120.0787 feet.
You
See,
mean
I told you, I was completely right.
120.7.
Oh,
It was over 100 feet.
I do have that. I forgot.
So these things were huge. Oh, here's actually one compared to like some of the other sauropods real fast. So then you see Barosaurus, which is another Morrison sauropod. Amphicelius, which probably doesn't exist.
Why are their necks so thick?
I don't know.
Like,
So they can, hold
that
their
is
heads
incredibly phallic.
up. They gotta hold their heads up high.
Your
Right
clown
in.
slipping.
What?
Nothing. I like to.
Yeah, I think they gotta have that big meaty neck to
And
hold
here's
their
some
heads.
Big meaty claws.
compared to his Brachiosaurus, compared to Almosaurus, compared to Argentinosaurus. Brachiosaurus was almost as tall, but it was definitely like not nearly as long.
So when the time period that Brachiosaurus was first living in, was it the biggest at that time?
Well, there is Morrison sauropods that might have been. Brachiosaurus was probably the tallest. There's Morrison sauropods like Barosaurus and possibly Amphicelius, if it turns out to be real. And there's another diplodocid relative I'm blanking on the name of that might have been like longer and heavier.
Hmm.
Barosaurus was huge.
I just don't acknowledge it.
I'm sorry, I like to acknowledge jokes that are actually funny.
Oof.
So Brachiosaurus lived in late Jurassic around 155 to 144 million years ago. It was first described by paleontologist Elmer S. Riggs in 1903 from the fossils of the Colorado River Galley in western Colorado. And its first remains were a set of forelimbs, so like your arms, and that's why its name means arm lizard. It was named after its arms. It reached around 45 feet tall, 65 feet long, and may have weighed around 50 tons.
Does the head count as a limb if its neck is that long?
No, that's not how limbs work.
Okay. Does the tail count as a limb?
No.
Yeah. Oh.
No? Okay.
Well,
Then yeah, I guess it does have 4 limbs.
okay.
You know what? That joke has been way overdone, but I can't get it out of my head, so...
I would like to know the joke, please.
Brachiosaurus was. Go ahead.
So we keep referring to 4 limbs as in the front ones, the arms, but it's also the number 4 limbs because the creature has 4 limbs.
Hey, did you
That's
know
the
that?
joke.
Did you know that the number 5 has 4 letters, and the number 4 has 4 letters?
And then the
Did you
number
know-
3 has 5 letters.
What about the number
5 has-
4?
The number 5 has 4 letters, and the number 4 has 4 letters.
Yeah, I'd like a number 4 plain, just the meat and cheese with extra fries and a Dr. Pepper.
I'll have a number 5, a number 5 large, a number 6 extra dip, number 7, 2 number 45s, 1 with cheese, and large soda.
What are y'all having?
Anyway, so Brachiosaurus, because initially its nostrils replaced the top of its head, and because of its sheer size, it was erroneously thought to have been an aquatic creature.
Uh-huh.
It was also notably one of the first sauropods to prove to have lived on land, when Elmer S. Riggs and John Bell Hatcher point out that its hollow vertebrae had no analog in aquatic creatures, and that if it tried to swim for long periods of time, it would just float, and it couldn't actually fully submerge itself without tremendous effort.
That sounds kind of fun. I like to see that.
Uh,
Just it floating along.
Atypical for most sauropods, Brachiosaurus. Well, most sauropods at the time, because you have other creatures like Argentinosaurus and Allosaurus, which have bigger front legs than back legs. But most sauropods, like Diplodocus, as shown, had longer back legs than forelegs, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
Here's an example of Brachiosaurus. I like this one.
I gotta get them big gorilla arms.
By Bjorn.
Bjorn must be a trustworthy source, of course.
I'm pretty sure my grandpa looked like that.
Beth is part Brachiosaurus confirmed.
Oh shit.
Are you Littlefoot?
Are you Littlefoot or Big Toes?
Are you Tiny Wiener?
Don't know why.
Damn.
Don't know why that's what caused Nick to lose his shit.
I don't know either.
Okay. I should bring up the giant sauropod in the room, I guess. Or, why is it not? There's got to be a better comparison image. For basically what I was going to say is Brachiosaurus is actually known from somewhat fragmentary remains. I believe the holotype was a set of arms and not much outside of some vertebrae, and a few other like partial remains have been found of Brachiosaurus. Well, I think there's somewhat like I think it's like 50% complete skeleton that's been known. I'm not entirely sure on that. But most of what we know of Brachiosaurus, and indeed this depiction in Walking with Dinosaurs, of Brachiosaurus is...
A Brachiosaurus?
I just had it. Sorry.
It's all good.
Is actually based on a creature that is now known to be called Giraffatitan. And this is because Giraffatitan is a... There it is. So Giraffatitan is a creature known from Tanzania, Africa. And for a long time, and it's remarkably well complete, and there's a couple different specimens that are remarkably well complete. They are huge African creatures from the late Jurassic in what is now Africa, from the Tanganura bed formation. These were found in the early 1900s. They were initially considered to be another species of Brachiosaurus because the arms were so similar. However, it has since been determined that there's enough differences in the overall skeletons that Brachiosaurus and Giraffatitan, that the Tanzanian Brachiosaurus needed its own genus, becoming Giraffatitan. And so in life, Brachiosaurus and Giraffatitan have some similarities and some differences. In general, Giraffatitan seems to be taller, if I remember correctly, while Brachiosaurus was heavier. There's some general proportional changes. There's some general... trying to think.
Or/general.
Sorry, I'm blanking.
It's all good.
Yeah, so Giraffatitan was a bit shorter, a bit less curved neck, a bit stouter, a bit heavier, like Brachiosaurus was. Giraffatitan was a bit slender, a bit taller, a bit more of a curved neck, and in overall proportions, larger but not heavier. They are still each other, like they are still considered each other's closest living relatives. It's not so much as one was found to be a completely separate thing. It's more of analogous to both African elephants are considered each other's closest living relatives, even though there's two species, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Or like, it'd be sort of like comparing a Asiatic black bear to a North American black bear. They're different, but they're very similar.
So what I'm hearing is Brachiosaurus is a dense motherfucker.
Yes, these were very, very heavy creatures.
Built
Where
like a
would we
brick.
like to rank it?
I would be good with an A on it.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. What just happened?
You dropped it?
I'm not sure where.
Oh, it's up there at the top, yeah?
Okay.
Like number 5?
Is it A tier?
Yeah, I think
Yep.
that's right.
All right. Next up is Dryosaurus.
It looks pretty wet to me.
So these things actually aren't named in the episode, even though they're shown multiple times. But these are a species of small ornithopod dinosaur. Both these images suck.
How much do they suck?
So these are the small two bipedal ornithopod dinosaurs that are seen. They're running around the forest. They're running around the plain next to Stegosaurus, and they're also noticeably the over well done crispy corpse after the forest fire.
Oh, right.
Oh, I thought
Delicious.
all of those were the Diplodocus or whatever.
No, there was one that was a bipedal little creature.
Oh.
So
Okay.
Dryosaurus is a herbivorous ornithopod dinosaur that lived during the late Jurassic period from around 156 to 240 million years ago, and what is now the western United States, as well as possibly Spain, Portugal, England, and Tanzania.
Hmm.
Although I believe the Tanzania one is now considered a very, it's once again it's like a Brachiosaurus Titan scenario where it's like a very similar but separate creature.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blanking on the name of. Hang on, I'll pull it up real fast. So, Tin de Guru Beds, formation of Tanzania. Let's see, excavation history. We got different pterosaurs. We got the different ones. Dislatosaurus is what it's now called.
Schlaposaurus.
It's this creature.
Ah,
Oh boy, it's got a tail.
Yeah, very, very long tail.
And a lot of them do.
it's got. I don't know what I was about to say.
Yeah, but that one's got like thresher shark tail. That one's like, wow.
So,
Which I don't think is accurately depicted in some of these pictures.
so they're notable for having a horned, hooked beak, as well as they also had densely packed molars towards the back of the mouth. They were around 4 to 6 feet tall at the shoulder and measure around 14 feet in length and up 200 pounds in weight. They had long, slender yet strong legs and a stiffened tail, allowing the animal to run prolonged distances, considerable speed, not unlike a modern ostrich. They had large orbital sockets and near all-around vision. They had good eyesight. They were also early iguanodontians, and they're one of the unique dinosaurs because they have their growth extensively studied. As there's been I think a whole herd was found of around 8 that were at varying growth stages in their development. And they ranged from young adults all the way down to embryos still inside of eggs.
Oh,
And in life, they would have probably fulfilled similar niche to that of like modern gazelles in their ecosystem, as small but like fast herbivores.
Hmm.
I own a bone of one of these guys, and in general, I think they're pretty neat creatures. They don't really get too much attention because they're kind of just like little
who
guys.
cares?
Mhm.
Yeah. Some differences in the depiction is they're kind of shrink wrapped. Their tail's not quite long enough. Their
Yeah, no.
legs aren't muscular as they probably should be. And
Right.
there's some evidence that they probably had some kind of feathering, maybe,
Mhm.
especially on the back of their head. But all in all, I find them to be pretty enjoyable guys. And I think it's important to like include them in documentaries because it shows like a niche of the ecosystem that was probably very fundamental to a lot of the predators, but you don't really see it depicted that often.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of like if you only watched African documentaries about elephants, you probably think Africa is like zebra, wildebeest, elephants, and then a bunch of predators and maybe giraffes. But there's also like various gazelles, antelopes, like all these like rodents and spring hares and flamingos and ostriches and all these other creatures. Oh, here's a neat one. Shows it at in comparison to, I believe that's a brachiosaurus in the background.
Damn, that is a tiny motherfucker.
The
I
thing
can
is,
deny it no longer.
these things got
Oh.
6 feet tall. They were like you and me.
Yeah,
Oh,
anything compared to one of the biggest creatures alive at the time is gonna look tiny.
Like here's one
So
compared to a ceratosaurus.
what I'm hearing is that it's boyfriend material, being 6 foot. But
Yeah, here's a
yeah.
comparison to a person. So it's not. Well, I guess it could if it reared up, be about as
Ah.
tall as a person.
This is it actually kind of reminded me the
I'm always
comparing
reared
it
up.
to the size of a brachiosaurus. You know those pictures of the world and it's like banana for scale, but you can't see the banana because it's way too small.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So where do we want to put Dryosaurus?
I'm fine with putting him in A. He's a
Yeah.
funky little guy.
I disagree because I
Oh.
feel like its representation within the show was done really dirty.
Okay, yeah, no, I get that as
I'd
well.
be okay with a B.
Okay.
I
wish
think
they were
B
at least name dropped. Like in the aftermath of the forest scene, they could have been like, "This Dryosaurus was one of its unlucky victims of like the blaze."
I
or
mean,
something.
they did look delicious.
They did look delicious.
they look delicious.
And that brings us to our last creature, which is
The Coochie-gram.
Ornitholestes.
Oh yeah, Molestosaurus.
Don't say it like that.
Oh yeah, this guy.
This is probably one of the, and my memory, that's a very tiny image. One of the more iconic designs from Walking with. God damn it! These are all tiny.
Yeah, I blame Google image search, because it said you have to like wait for it to buffer, then open it. Otherwise, it comes up as the little data thing.
Yeah, can we get something that's not 230 by 170?
I don't know. Can we?
Actually, it's more like 1030.
Can we get something that is not the graphical representation of Braden's dick? I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Braden.
Yeah.
And of course, this one's blurry.
Blurry. I mean, it's 90 CG. It's all blurry.
Anyway, Ornitholestes. To give some background on Ornitholestes, Ornitholestes is a species of small theropod dinosaur that was native to the Morrison Formation in the United States in the Jurassic period around 154 million years ago. The holotype skeleton and the only like specimen that has any like real that's not just a tooth was found in
Much
1900 at the Bone Cabin Quarry in Wyoming by Peter C. Kazin, Paul Miller, and Frederick Brewster Loomis.
Hmm.
Oh, the guy that serves coffee in Animal Crossing.
Sassy.
It was named by Henry Fairfield Osborne in 1903. It was a mostly complete skeleton with a partial skull, and it was one of the smallest
I have a
carnivorous
partial skull.
dinosaurs known from when it was initially found, reaching at around 6.5 feet in length, but only about a couple feet tall and only about 30 pounds in weight.
That's really light for its
size.
It's those air bones.
Oh yeah, it wasn't that terribly big.
Oh yeah, I guess not.
There's
It
nothing
was just
saying a
long.
dinosaur play basketball.
Okay.
Air bones.
Motherfucker.
It's notable that its tail comprised half of its body length.
Yeah.
Its head was small but heavily built with long conical teeth and large eye sockets, which would have occupied around 25% of the skull. This likely would have housed fairly large and developed eyes, which means it was probably likely suited to hunting at twilight. Notably, there is an area of broken bone near the external nares or the nostril, which is like right here, that it was flared up and appeared to have bulged upward. This led many to believe that Ornitholestes sported a nasal horn, like other theropods such as Ceratosaurus. However, it is now believed that upward flare was actually just a bit of broken bone. That, because of the fossilization process, appeared to like look like it would be crest, but it was actually just another part of the skull that got like shifted upward in death.
Few millimeters of bone.
So, unfortunately, what many people consider to be like its most iconic feature, it probably didn't have. It likely sported feathering of some kind, but as to what extent isn't necessarily well known. We see interpretations of it being scaly, like in this one, to being completely feathered, like in some of these.
Kind of familiar, yeah.
You whip that tail back and home.
Ornitholestes would have.
When was the last time anybody thought of that song?
High school.
Ornitholestes also had an incredibly large range of motion in its limbs compared to other theropod dinosaurs of the time. Due to this flexibility, as well as Ornitholestes' stout skull and large eyes, it's thought the dinosaur was primarily nocturnal and may have been semi-arboreal, not unlike a raccoon or like a cloud leopard.
This picture right here makes me think of it as like a carnivorous peacock.
Which picture?
The one that's on screen right now.
Oh, the little one?
Yeah.
No, we haven't gotten to the murder turkeys yet.
Oh, no.
But overall, I thought the design was pretty neat. It's a bit unfortunate about the crest no longer really being accurate. I did think it was neat that you sort of showed a progression of threats Diplodocus would have faced. So as babies, they had to deal with ornitholestes, and then as adults they had to deal with allosaurs. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So where do I want to put ornitholestes?
I'd say an A or B because it's interesting, but it's it loses points due to inaccuracy, even if it looks interesting.
I
To
think
me,
it could take a solid B.
I think a solid B as well
All right.
for
As
Bojangles.
opposed to a liquid B.
Hey,
And
I mean,
this
I'd take a
is
liquid. No, I'm not gonna say that. Never mind.
really.
You already said it. Too late.
I was gonna make the full joke about me taking massive nasty. No,
If I
I'm
jump
gonna.
out of the car before the car hits the wall, I have not caused a car crash.
Exactly.
No, after the point in which you leave the vehicle, what the car does on its own is on it. Like,
Yeah. It's not my fault that the car doesn't know how to drive itself. It's a Tesla.
Well, then the analogy doesn't hold up because Tesla wouldn't let you leave.
Oh shit, you right. Well, what do you have to say about all this?
I think this is a pretty good pan of like what we got going on. And where do we want to rank the episode Time of Titans as a whole?
I think it's still I think it's still pretty solid. I do think points are taken off because of a lot of inaccuracies with the
Well,
dinosaurs.
that's going to be in all the episodes.
yeah.
I would say B or A.
See, I'd say
Well,
like B or
probably A.
C.
Because this is the one with the farting, pooping dinosaurs, so it has to rank pretty high.
Of course, it has to be A for ass dinosaurs.
Okay.
How could I be so
And
bad?
this has been our ranking of Time of Titans. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and thank you guys for joining me.
A time of Titans more like a time of dinosaurs that shit. Am I right? Play us out.
Oh, you're wrong.
Okay.
Someone say something else so that's not the ending joke of the episode.
Something else.
The N word.
Thank you.
Whoa! Please.
Anyway,
Hey!
have a happy
You mean-
9/11. Bye.